Jello Film refers to pulp fiction novels sold in Italy with distinct yellow covers and lurid cover artwork. The word giallo in Italian literally means yellow and is a colloquial term for crime thrillers, many adapted into films that usually revolve around beautiful women, beautiful clothes, jet-set lifestyles, and vicious, vengeful killers serial murdering with black leather gloves. Police work and character development are often pushed to the side in favor for elaborate, robust murder set pieces. There's a lot of fabulous giallos out there, and many blend the realms of sleaze, sexploitation, with the art house attention to detail, expressionist lighting, and cutting-edge camera work. And in my opinion, no filmmaker blended the exploitation trash with the arty technique quite like Lucio Fulci. The film that I love is a film that seems undefendable, but I'm going to defend it because I really like The New York Ripper, even though it is one of the most vile, notorious films ever made. I think there's probably worse ones out there, but there's something about this film, and maybe it's just the reputation that precedes it, but it seems to push all of the right buttons for people.
Strangest voice I ever heard. Sort of like a duck. Quack, quack, quack. Just like that. Not that he said quack, quack, quack.
This movie sent the BBFC, who, they control all the media and kind of censorship in the United Kingdom, it sent the BBFC into a frenzy. This was a time in the UK when distributors of questionable or extreme content were jailed or charged with obscenity. There was also a hypersensitivity about the film's subject matter because of the infamous Yorkshire Ripper had just been caught. So these were still like fresh wounds for people in the UK. Ripper was so offensive that the film cans containing the film, reels, were, first of all, it was outright banned, so they had to escort the film out of the country, some say by an armed guard. God, can you imagine how glamorous? Your film is so bad, so notorious that a guard with a gun has to take your film out of the country. I think that's better than any Academy Award personally, but I know not a popular opinion. I think that was the reason I first saw it, was because the title says the most controversial horror film ever made. I mean, if you love horror and you're looking for that, something that goes above and beyond, it's like you're magnetized to it.
Sounded just like a duck. Like a duck. Never heard that before.
I heard it wasn't even released theatrically in America, even though it seems like it would have been a surefire hit on the grimy grindhouses of 42nd Street, but I guess it was released on video in the late 80s with the classic American censorship, which is, the sex or nudity trimmed back or out completely, the violence and gore fully intact. One would think sex being the more natural human emotion or, human activity would be uncensored over gratuitous or fetishized violence. I'm against censorship of both. I think if you don't like a film, turn it off. Go read a book, go for a walk, I don't know. But censorship, to me, is never the answer. Now, I think if you want to talk about unstable people obsessing or imitating violent films, I think that's a mental health issue. It's just so easy to point the blame at a film or video game or a song or an artist when, it's really about maybe, weapon control. Maybe it's about mental illness. There's deeper things there that people don't want to look at. And I think that's why New York Ripper is so controversial. It's a film that really holds a mirror up to society's violence. New York City at the time was one of the most, dangerous cities in the world. And at the New York airport, I read that the police, of all people, would hand out pamphlets to people coming into the city saying, "Welcome to Fear City," and quote, "Until things change, stay away from New York City if you possibly can," end quote. The police handed those hideous pamphlets out. I mean, can you talk about passive protecting and serving? It's like, it's not even that. It's like, oh, good luck.
You're not a police officer, are you? I wouldn't think of it.
The police in this film are stone cold. They're talking about slashed bodies with a coroner as if they're announcing the time of day. The police inspector's prostitute girlfriend is slashed to ribbons with a razor. And it's easy to see why the film has this sickening reputation, but I think like all films that are controversial, it raises alarm because it's telling some kind of truth that people don't want to face head on. And the way the film confronts depravity and violence head on is so unsentimental, but so are serial killers. And so are people who lose themselves in dangerous underworlds. Really unpleasant kinds of human behavior, but they exist, you know, you can't say that they don't. And is it just because it's people don't like that, should you ban a film or not be able to make a film that way? I don't think so. The other Giallo films or Lucio Fulci films I would recommend are Don't Torture a Duckling, which is one of his very best movies, and it's about the Catholic Church. It kind of defies every Giallo cliche because there's no black-gloved killer, the victims are children, and it's set in a small kind of rural community as opposed to a big glamorous city, and it's just extremely well made and pretty terrifying. The other one that's really incredible is Lizard in a Woman's Skin. This one is totally like his most psychedelic and surrealist film. There's homages to the Dolly sequence in Hitchcock's Spellbound and Francis Bacon, and a critique on the whole peace, love, hippie culture. It's the first film he made after the suicide of his wife, so it's this totally different Fulci when you look at other ones like Perversion Story, which came right before. Almost like light-hearted compared to his later work after her suicide. The other ones I would recommend definitely are like The Psychic is really good. Maybe to a lesser extent Murder Rock, which is very toned down compared to like New York Ripper or some of his other bloodier ones. Fulci was a genius. He was obsessed with zooming. He does a lot of zoom abuse, as I kind of call it sometimes. Like The Psychic is a great example because literally every shot in that movie zooms in or zooms out or zooms back in and out. It's a lot, but I love it. I don't know why I'm such a zoom hag. So he really mastered that. He was very professional, very serious about these films that are seemingly kind of ridiculous or over the top. If you have any serious inclination into the horror genre, you must know the name Lucio Fulci. My name is Jacob Lomax, and I appreciate you watching my videos. Please like and subscribe, share them, and comment. I love when people comment. I love to have a conversation about movies. Thank you so much.